what I want, the strength that it takes to follow through.
I think it is very rare that as an actor and as an individual you can be genuinely moved by a novel or a script, and I was on an aeroplane when I read it and was just in floods of tears.
Kate Elizabeth Winslet was born on the 5th of October 1975 in Reading, Berkshire, to Sally Ann, née Bridges, and Roger John Winslet. She is of British descent, and also has Irish ancestry on her father's side and Swedish ancestry on her mother's side. Her mother worked as a nanny and waitress, and her father, a struggling actor, took labouring jobs to support the family. Her maternal grandparents were both actors and ran the Reading Repertory Theatre Company. Winslet has two sisters, Anna and Beth, both of whom are actresses, and a younger brother, Joss. The family had limited financial means. They lived on free meal benefits and were supported by a charity named the Actors Charitable Trust. When Winslet was 10, her father severely injured his foot in a boating accident and found it harder to work, leading to more financial hardships for the family. Winslet has said her parents always made him feel cared for and that they were a supportive family. Winslet attended St. Mary and All Saints Church of England Primary School. Living in a family of actors inspired her to pursue acting from a young age. She and her sisters participated in amateur stage shows at school and at a local youth theatre, named Foundations. When she was 5, Winslet made her first stage appearance as Mary in her school's production of The Nativity. At 11, Winslet was accepted into the Redroofs Theatre School in Maidenhead. The school also functioned as an agency and took students to London to audition for acting jobs. She appeared in a Sugar Puffs commercial and dubbed for foreign films. At school, she was made head girl, took part in productions of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and The Lion, The Witch and the Wardrobe, and played the lead role of Wendy Darling in Peter Pan. She worked simultaneously with the Starmaker Theatre Company in Reading. She participated in over 20 of their stage productions, but was rarely selected as the lead due to her weight. Nonetheless, she played key roles as Miss Agatha Hannigan in Annie, the Mother Wolf in The Jungle Book, and Lena Morelli in Bugsy Malone. In 1991, within 2 weeks of finishing her GCSE examinations, Winslet made her screen debut as one of the main cast members of the BBC science fiction television series Dark Season. Her part was that of Reet, a schoolgirl who helps her classmates fight against a sinister man distributing free computers to her school. She did not earn much from the job, and at 16, a lack of funds forced Winslet to leave Redroofs. To support herself, she worked at a delicatessen. In 1992, she had a small part in the television film Anglo-Saxon Attitudes, an adaptation of Angus Wilson's satirical novel. She next took on the role of the young daughter of a bankrupt self-made man, played by Ray Winston, in the television sitcom Get Back. She also had a guest role in a 1993 episode of the medical drama series Casualty. Winslet was among 175 girls to audition for Peter Jackson's psychological drama Heavenly Creatures and was cast after impressing Jackson with the intensity she brought to her part. The New Zealand-based production is based on the Parker Hume murder case of 1954, in which Winslet played Juliette Hume, a teenager who assists her friend, Pauline Parker, played by Melanie Linsky, in the murder of Pauline's mother. She prepared for the part by reading the transcripts of the girls' murder trial, their letters and diaries, and interacted with their acquaintances. She has said she learnt tremendously from the job. Jackson filmed in the real murder locations, and the experience left Winslet traumatized. She found it difficult to detach herself from her character, and said that after returning home, she often cried. The film was a critical breakthrough for Winslet. The Washington Post writer Desson Thompson called her a bright-eyed ball of fire, lighting up every scene she's in. Winslet recorded Juliet's aria for the film's soundtrack. Also that year, she appeared as Geraldine Barclay, a prospective secretary, in the Royal Exchange Theatre production of Joe Orton's farce What the Butler Saw. While promoting Heavenly Creatures in Los Angeles, Winslet auditioned for the minor part of Lucy Steele for a 1995 film adaptation of Jane Austen's novel Sense and Sensibility, starring and written by Emma Thompson. Impressed by her reading, Thompson cast her in the much larger part of the recklessly romantic teenager Marianne Dashwood. The director Ang Lee wanted Winslet to play the part with grace and restraint, aspects that he felt were missing from her performance in Heavenly Creatures, and thus asked her to practice Tai Chi, read Gothic literature, and learn to play the piano. David Parkinson of Radio Times considered Winslet to be a standout among the cast, and Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle took note of how well she had portrayed her character's growth and maturity. The film grossed over $134 million worldwide. She won the Screen Actors Guild and British Academy Film Award for Best Supporting Actress, and received nominations for the Academy Award and Golden Globe Award in the same category. Also in 1995, Winslet featured in the poorly received Disney film A Kid in King Arthur's Court. Winslet had roles in two period dramas of 1996, Jude and Hamlet. As with her Heavenly Creatures part, Winslet's roles in these films were those of women with a mad edge in Michael Winterbottom's Jude. Based on the novel Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, she played Sue Bridehead, a young woman with suffragette leanings who falls in love with her cousin, Jude, played by Christopher Eccleston. The critic Roger Ebert believed the part allowed Winslet to display her acting range, and praised her for the defiance she brought to the role. Winslet was among 175 girls to audition for Peter Jackson's psychological drama Heavenly Creatures and was cast after impressing Jackson with the intensity she brought to her part. The New Zealand-based production is based on the Parker Hume murder case of 1954, in which Winslet played Juliette Hume, a teenager who assists her friend, Pauline Parker, played by Melanie Linsky, in the murder of Pauline's mother. She prepared for the part by reading the transcripts of the girls' murder trial, their letters and diaries, and interacted with their acquaintances. She has said she learnt tremendously from the job. Jackson filmed in the real murder locations, and the experience left Winslet traumatized. She found it difficult to detach herself from her character, and said that after returning home, she often cried. The film was a critical breakthrough for Winslet. The Washington Post writer Desson Thompson called her a bright-eyed ball of fire, lighting up every scene she's in. Winslet recorded Juliet's aria for the film's soundtrack. Also that year, she appeared as Geraldine Barclay, a prospective secretary, in the Royal Exchange Theatre production of Joe Orton's farce What the Butler Saw. While promoting Heavenly Creatures in Los Angeles, Winslet auditioned for the minor part of Lucy Steele for a 1995 film adaptation of Jane Austen's novel Sense and Sensibility, starring and written by Emma Thompson. Impressed by her reading, Thompson cast her in the much larger part of the recklessly romantic teenager Marianne Dashwood. The director Ang Lee wanted Winslet to play the part with grace and restraint, aspects that he felt were missing from her performance in Heavenly Creatures, and thus asked her to practice Tai Chi, read Gothic literature, and learn to play the piano. David Parkinson of Radio Times considered Winslet to be a standout among the cast, and Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle took note of how well she had portrayed her character's growth and maturity. The film grossed over $134 million worldwide. She won the Screen Actors Guild and British Academy Film Award for Best Supporting Actress, and received nominations for the Academy Award and Golden Globe Award in the same category. Also in 1995, Winslet featured in the poorly received Disney film A Kid in King Arthur's Court. Winslet had roles in two period dramas of 1996, Jude and Hamlet. As with her Heavenly Creatures part, Winslet's roles in these films were those of women with a mad edge in Michael Winterbottom's Jude. Based on the novel Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, she played Sue Bridehead, a young woman with suffragette leanings who falls in love with her cousin, Jude, played by Christopher Eccleston. The critic Roger Ebert believed the part allowed Winslet to display her acting range, and praised her for the defiance she brought to the role. Winslet was keen on playing Rose DeWitt Bacata, a socialite aboard the ill-fated RMS Titanic, in James Cameron's epic romance Titanic. Cameron was initially reluctant to cast her, preferring the likes of Claire Danes and Gwyneth Paltrow, but Winslet pleaded with him, "You don't understand. I am Rose. I don't know why you're even seeing anyone else." Her persistence led Cameron to cast her. Leonardo DiCaprio featured as her love interest, Jack. Titanic had a production budget of $200 million, and its arduous principal photography was held at Rosarito Beach, where a replica of the ship was created. Filming proved taxing for Winslet. She almost drowned, caught influenza, suffered from hypothermia, and had bruises on her arms and knees. The workload allowed her only 4 hours of sleep per day, and she felt drained by the experience. Against expectations, Titanic went on to become the highest-grossing film of all time to that point, earning over $2 billion in box office receipts worldwide, and established Winslet as a global star. The film won 11 Academy Awards, tied for most for a single film, including Best Picture, and earned 22-year-old Kate Winslet a Best Actress in a Leading Role nomination, making her the fourth youngest nominee in the category at that time. For her performance, Winslet also received nominations for a Golden Globe Award and Screen Actors Guild Award.
Oh, I mean, that was fun. I mean, you know, I love looking absolutely awful on camera, and the last couple of days I've been shooting on Titanic, and I've been having to look like I've got hypothermia, so these blue lips, which is, you know, marvellous, lots of blue food colouring all over the place, and a bright red nose. But I think there's sort of nothing like that. I mean, I think if you have a problem as an actor with looking awful on screen, then, you know, again, don't bother, because it's an important part of it. You know, you can't always look good on camera. God knows I don't.
She has created a variety of characters in a wide array of films, from Heavenly Creatures, for which she won the London Film Critics and Empire Awards, to Sense and Sensibility, for which she received Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations and won the Evening Standard, Screen Actors Guild, and British Academy Awards, to Jude, which earned her an Evening Standard Award, Hamlet, for which she received the Empire Best Actress Award, Titanic, for which she received Golden Globe, London Film Critics, Screen Actors Guild, and Academy Award nominations, and won the Empire, Blockbuster Entertainment, MTV, European Film, and Germany's Golden Camera Best Actress Awards. Hideous Kinky, Holy Smoke, Quills, for which she received Empire, London Film Critics, Screen Actors Guild, and Blockbuster nominations, and won the Evening Standard Award. Enigma, for which she won Evening Standard and Empire Awards. Iris, for which she received her second British Academy Award nomination, her third Golden Globe nomination, and her third Oscar nomination, and won the Evening Standard Best Actress Award. J.M. Barrie's Neverland and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. People magazine has declared her one of the 50 most beautiful people in the world. The Actors Studio is proud to welcome Kate Winslet.
Winslet did not view Titanic as a platform for bigger salaries. She avoided parts in blockbuster films in favor of independent productions that were not widely seen, believing that she still had a lot to learn and was unprepared to be a star. She later said her decision ensured career longevity. Hideous Kinky, a low-budget drama shot before the release of Titanic, was Winslet's sole film release of 1998. She turned down offers to star in Shakespeare in Love, 1998, and Anna and the King, 1999, to do the film. Based on the semi-autobiographical novel by Esther Freud, Hideous Kinky tells the story of a single British mother yearning for a new life in 1970s Morocco. Writing for the New York Times, Janet Maslin commended Winslet's decision to follow up Titanic with such an offbeat project, and took note of how well she had captured her character's obliviousness and optimism. Jane Campion's psychological drama Holy Smoke, 1999, featured Winslet as an Australian woman who joins an Indian religious cult. She found the script brave and was challenged by the idea of playing an unlikable, manipulative woman. She learned to speak in an Australian accent and worked closely with Campion to justify her character's vileness. The film required her to perform explicit sex scenes with her co-star Harvey Keitel, and featured a scene in which her character appears naked and urinates on herself. David Rooney of Variety wrote, "Showing the kind of courage few young thespians would be capable of and an extraordinary range, from animal cunning to unhinged desperation, Winslet holds nothing back." That same year, she voiced a fairy for the animated film Fairies, and won the Grammy Award for Best Spoken Word Album for Children for narrating the short story, The Face in the Lake, for the children's audiobook Listen to the Storyteller. In Quills, a biopic of the erratic Marquis de Sade, starring Geoffrey Rush and Joaquin Phoenix, Winslet played the supporting part of a sexually repressed laundress working in a mental asylum. Hailing her as the most daring actress working today, James Greenberg of Los Angeles Magazine praised Winslet for continuing to explore the bounds of sexual liberation. She received a SAG Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. The following year, she played a fictitious mathematician involved in the cracking of the Enigma ciphers in Michael Apted's espionage thriller Enigma. Winslet's character was vastly expanded from a subsidiary love interest in the novel it was based on to a prominent code breaker in the film. She was pregnant while filming, and to prevent this from showing, she wore corsets under her costume. The biopic Iris, 2001, featured Winslet and Judi Dench as the novelist Iris Murdoch at different ages. The director Richard Eyre cast the two actresses after finding a correspondence of spirit between them. Winslet was drawn to the idea of playing an intellectual and zesty female lead, and in research, she read Murdoch's novels, studied her husband's memoir Elegy for Iris, and watched televised interviews of Murdoch. The project was filmed over 4 weeks and allowed Winslet to bring her daughter, who was 6 months old at the time, on set. Winslet received her third Oscar nomination for Iris, in addition to BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actress. Winslet's third film release of 2001 was the animated film Christmas Carol, the movie, based on Charles Dickens' novel. For the film's soundtrack she recorded What If, which proved to be a commercial hit. After a year-long absence from the screen, Winslet starred as a headstrong journalist interviewing a professor on death row in the thriller The Life of David Gale, 2003. She agreed to the project to work with the director Alan Parker, whom she admired, and believed the film raised pertinent questions about capital punishment.
In Enigma, I play Hester Wallace, who would ordinarily be wearing black-rimmed spectacles, but I thought, for the lighting and all the rest of it, I would neglect from wearing them today because they reflect badly. So she's a bit of a sort of boffin, really, and her father is a clergyman, so she's sort of quite a straight-laced woman from a very normal background, sort of middle-class background. And she finds herself working at Bletchley Park. She's been employed to work at Bletchley Park. She's employed below her station. She sort of works, she's a blister. She works in Hut 6 and she's a blister, and that means a woman who makes lists of things, basically, without getting too technical, lots and lots of lists of codes as they come through. But she wasn't actually involved in the real code breaking. But she becomes involved in that through the course of the story as it goes on, and as she becomes more friendly with Tom Jericho, which is Dougray Scott's character, and ends up sort of really saving the day. She's the sort of heroine of the piece, really, and her intelligence and bravery sort of all amount to this big kind of crescendo at the end.
Winslet was paid £6 million to star in the drama Finding Neverland. It is about the relationship between J.M. Barrie, played by Johnny Depp, and the Llewellyn Davies boys, which inspired Barrie to write Peter Pan. Winslet played the boys' mother, Sylvia. Despite her reluctance to star in another period piece, Winslet agreed to the project after empathizing with her character's love for the children. She received a second Best Actress nomination at that year's BAFTA award ceremony. The film done well at the box office with a gross of $116 million. Finding Neverland became her most widely seen film since Titanic. Winslet had 4 film releases in 2006. She first appeared in All the King's Men, a political thriller set in 1940s Louisiana, featuring Sean Penn and Jude Law. She played the supporting part of the love interest to Law's character. The film received negative reviews for its lack of political insight and narrative cohesiveness, and failed to recoup its $55 million investment. Her next release, the drama Little Children, was better received. Based on the novel of the same name, the film tells the story of Sarah Pierce, an unhappy housewife who has an affair with a married neighbor, played by Patrick Wilson. Winslet was challenged by the role of an uncaring mother, as she did neither understand nor respect her character's actions. Scenes requiring her to be hostile towards the child actress playing her daughter proved upsetting for her. Having given birth to 2 children, Winslet was nervous about the sex scenes in which she had to be nude. the actress took on the challenge to present a positive image for women with what she called imperfect bodies. With another Academy Award for Best Actress nomination, Winslet, at 31, became the youngest performer to accrue 5 Oscar nominations. After Little Children, Winslet played a part she found more sympathetic in Nancy Meyers' romantic comedy The Holiday. She played Iris, a Briton who temporarily exchanges homes with an American, played by Cameron Diaz, during the Christmas holiday season. The film became Winslet's biggest commercial success in 9 years, grossing over $205 million worldwide. In her final release of the year, Winslet voiced Rita, a scavenging sewer rat, in the animated film Flushed Away. Winslet's sole project of 2007 was as the narrator for the English version of the French children's film The Fox and the Child. Winslet had 2 critically acclaimed roles in 2008. After reading Justin Hayther's script for Revolutionary Road, an adaptation of Richard Yates's debut novel, Winslet recommended the project to her then-husband, director Sam Mendes, and her Titanic co-star Leonardo DiCaprio. The film traces the tribulations of a young married couple in 1950s suburban America. Winslet was drawn to the idea of playing a woman whose aspirations had not been met, and she read The Feminine Mystique to understand the psychology of unhappy housewives from the era. Mendes encouraged DiCaprio and Winslet to spend time together, and she believed the small set they used helped them to develop their characters' strained relationship. Hailing Winslet as the best English-speaking film actress of her generation, David Edelstein of New York Magazine wrote that there isn't a banal moment in Winslet's performance, not a gesture, not a word. To avoid a scheduling conflict with Revolutionary Road, Winslet turned down an offer to star in The Reader. After her replacement Nicole Kidman left the project due to her pregnancy, Winslet was signed to it. Directed by Stephen Daldry, The Reader is based on Bernhard Schlink's novel Der Vorleser and is about Hannah Schmitz, an illiterate Nazi concentration camp guard, Winslet, who has an affair with a teenage boy. Winslet researched the Holocaust and the SS guards. To educate herself on the stigma of illiteracy, she spent time with students at the Literacy Partners, an organization that teaches adults to read and write. Winslet was unable to sympathize with Schmitz and struggled to play the part honestly without humanizing her actions. Despite this, some historians criticized the film for making Schmitz an object of the audience's sympathy and accused the filmmakers of Holocaust revisionism. Todd McCarthy commended her for supplying a haunting shell to this internally decimated woman, and writing for the Daily Telegraph, Sukhdev Sandhu considered her to be absolutely fearless here, not just in her willingness to expose herself physically, but her refusal to expose her character psychologically. Winslet received significant awards attention for her performances in Revolutionary Road and The Reader. She won a Golden Globe Award for each of these films, and for the latter, she was awarded the Academy Award and BAFTA Award for Best Actress. At age 33, she surpassed her own record as the youngest performer to accrue 6 Oscar nominations. She also became the 3rd actress in history to win 2 Golden Globe Awards at the same ceremony. Exhausted by the media attention during this period, Winslet took 2 years off work until she was ready to creatively engage again.
I don't think so, no. I think she gains knowledge, I think she gains knowledge. I think she doesn't come to terms with anything. I think she realizes that at the time that she was sentenced and convicted of having committed war crimes, she didn't understand that she was doing anything wrong. Only during that trial does she start to realize that maybe she had a choice and perhaps she didn't need to do these terrible things, and she just didn't know. And so the knowledge that she gains, the understanding of what the Holocaust actually was, that happens to her while she's in prison. And I think that she gets to a point, where she can't live with it. She can't live with it anymore.
Winslet returned to acting with the 5-part HBO miniseries Mildred Pierce, an adaptation of James M. Cain's novel from the director Todd Haynes. It is about the titular heroine, Winslet, a divorcee during the Great Depression struggling to establish a restaurant business while yearning for the respect of her narcissistic daughter, played by Evan Rachel Wood. Winslet, who had recently divorced Mendes, believed certain aspects of her character's life mirrored her own. She was intimidated by the scope of the production, as she featured in every scene of the 280-page script. She was disturbed and upset by the story, and was particularly fascinated by the complex relationship between the mother-daughter pair. She collaborated closely with the production and costume designers, and learnt to bake pies and prepare chickens. The broadcast received a limited audience but gained positive reviews. Matt Zoller Cites of Salon called the series a quiet, heartbreaking masterpiece and described Winslet's performance as terrific, intelligent, focused and seemingly devoid of ego. She received the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress, in addition to Golden Globe and SAG Award wins. The ensemble thriller Contagion from Steven Soderbergh was Winslet's first film release of 2011. She was cast as a disease detective for the CDC, and she modeled her role on Anne Schuchat, the director of the NCIRD. Contagion was a commercial success, and David Denby of The New Yorker praised Winslet for capturing the essence of an exasperated woman. Her next project was the Roman Polanski-directed Carnage, adapted from the play God of Carnage by Yasmina Reza. Set entirely inside an apartment, the black comedy follows two sets of parents feuding over their respective children. Jodie Foster, John C. Reilly, and Christoph Waltz co-starred. The cast rehearsed the script like a play for 2 weeks, and Winslet brought her children with her to Paris for the 8 weeks of filming. Critics found the adaptation to be less compelling than the play, but praised the performances of Winslet and Foster. They both received Golden Globe nominations for it. Winslet said her workload in 2011 helped her get over heartbreak from her divorce, and after completing work on Carnage she took a break from acting to focus on her children. A short part that she had filmed 4 years earlier for the anthology film movie 43 was her sole screen appearance of 2012, and it yielded the worst reviews of her career. Winslet also performed an audiobook recording of Émile Zola's novel Thérèse Raquin. She was reluctant to accept Jason Reitman's offer to star in his 2013 film adaptation of Joyce Maynard's novel Labor Day, but agreed after Reitman postponed the production for a year to accommodate Winslet's commitment to her children. Set over a Labor Day weekend, it tells the story of Adele, an agoraphobic single mother, who falls in love with an escaped convict. Describing Adele's characterization as having more vulnerability than strength, Winslet found her a departure from the strong-willed women she typically played. A scene in the film required her to make a pie, for which she drew upon her baking experience from Mildred Pierce. Critical reception for the film was negative. Chris Nashawati of Entertainment Weekly criticized it as mawkish and melodramatic, but credited Winslet for adding layers to her passive role. She received her 10th Golden Globe nomination for it. The novelty of playing a villainous part drew Winslet to Janine Matthews in the science fiction film Divergent. Set in a dystopian future, the adaptation of Veronica Roth's young adult novel stars Shailene Woodley as a heroine fighting an oppressive regime headed by Winslet's character. Winslet was pregnant with her third child during the filming, and her tight-fitting costumes had to be altered to accommodate the pregnancy. To maintain her character's intimidating persona, Winslet remained aloof from her co-stars for much of the filming. Richard Lawson of Vanity Fair compared the film unfavorably to The Hunger Games, and thought Winslet was underutilized in it. The film grossed $288 million worldwide. A Little Chaos marked Winslet's return to the period film genre. Directed by Alan Rickman, it is about a rivalry among gardeners commissioned to create a fountain at the Palace of Versailles. Winslet's role was that of fictional architect Sabine de Barra, a character she believed had overcome extreme grief and hardship like herself. Catherine Shord of The Guardian took note of the emotional honesty Winslet brought to her part, but criticized the implausibility of her role. Also that year, she read audiobooks of Roald Dahl's children's novels Matilda and the Magic Finger.
Yes. How was it playing a villain?
It was wonderful. It was lovely playing a villain. It was great. I could be evil. I could just be so cutthroat and bitchy. It was really a whole new experience for me. I mean, I haven't played that type of role before, and I just loved it.
Was it the fact that it was something quite different that really kind of attracted you to joining the film?
I think everything about it was different. It was a different role for me, different genre. Never done this genre before at all. Different marketplace to the marketplace that my films sort of find their way in. Just totally and utterly different. Also, I was aware of the fact that it was something that my children could go and see, because let's face it, they haven't been able to see much else that I've done so far. And so there were lots of sort of subconscious boxes that I realise now that I was probably ticking. But no, I'm thrilled to be in the film. I just think it's fantastic.
In 2015, Winslet reprised the role of Janine Matthews in the second instalment of the Divergent series, subtitled Insurgent, which despite negative reviews grossed $297 million worldwide. Her next film, an adaptation of the Australian Gothic novel The Dressmaker, was described by the director Jocelyn Moorhouse as being reminiscent of the western Unforgiven, 1992. Winslet starred as the femme fatale Tilly Dunnage, a seamstress who returns to her hometown years after she was accused of murder. She learnt to sew for the part and designed some of her own costumes. The project was shot in the Australian desert, and Winslet found it difficult to wear couture dresses in the harsh weather. Despite disliking the film, Robert Abele of the Los Angeles Times commended Winslet for underplaying her over-the-top part. The film emerged as one of the highest-grossing Australian films of all time, but earned little elsewhere. Winslet won the ACTA Award for Best Actress. While filming The Dressmaker, Winslet became aware of a forthcoming Steve Jobs biopic scripted by Aaron Sorkin and directed by Danny Boyle. Keen to play Jobs' marketing chief and confidant Joanna Hoffman, she sent a picture of herself dressed as Hoffman to the film's producer. Steve Jobs, starring Michael Fassbender in the title role, is told in 3 acts, each depicting a key milestone in Jobs' career. In preparation, Winslet spent time with Hoffman, and worked with a dialect coach to speak in Hoffman's accent, a mixture of Armenian and Polish, which she considered to be the most difficult of her career. The cast rehearsed each act like a play and filmed it in sequence. Winslet collaborated closely with Fassbender, and their off-screen relationship mirrored the collegial dynamic between Jobs and Hoffman. The film earned Winslet some of the best reviews of her career but was a box office flop. Peter Howell of the Toronto Star commended her for finding strength and grace in her part, and Gregory Elwood of HitFix thought she had improved on Hoffman's characterization. She won the Golden Globe and BAFTA Awards for Best Supporting Actress, and received her 7th Oscar nomination for it. Winslet portrayed paleontologist Mary Anning in Ammonite, 2020, a romance between Anning and Charlotte Murkison, played by Saoirse Ronan, set in 1840s England. She dropped out of Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch to have more preparation time for the project. She collaborated closely with Ronan, and they choreographed their own sex scenes. For much of the filming, she lived in isolation in a rented cottage in Dorset, where the film was shot, to get into her character's headspace. Karen James of the BBC commended Winslet for portraying Anning as stern and brittle but immensely sympathetic, and considered her contained, potent performance to be one of the best of her career. She has committed to portray the model and photographer Lee Miller in an upcoming biopic, also Avatar 2, a science fiction sequel to James Cameron's 2009 film, which required Winslet to work with motion capture technology, will follow next. She learnt freediving for her role and was able to hold her breath underwater for 7 minutes.